AMG Hobby Talk number 85. We've got a very special edition. Sherry, not on location technically, but sort of on location on the road. It is Sherry. Sherry, how are you?
I, I've been better on this Tuesday morning. Traffic is absolutely horrendous in Halifax and Bedford right now. Um, yeah, that's all I got.
I was,
Love
I
it.
was
Love
waiting.
it.
I was waiting for her fantastic, but I knew it wasn't coming.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
That's great.
I knew we were going to get a different version of this, and that's kind of why I wanted to lean into it. I didn't want to miss out. It was pretty good. But the good news is that throughout the course of the podcast, the duration of it that we're able to record, we may be able to get traffic updates. There is good news.
Yeah.
I'll go over a couple of comments from the last episode, and I think Sherry's uniquely qualified to be able to speak to that. So I think we'll have some fun with it. So since you already spoke up, Blair, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. I made it by the skin of my pants, so I think I made it with 2 minutes to go, so we're all good.
I'm deeply concerned that you're skinning your pants, but at the start, I think that's fair. And then, of course, the collector, the scouts, collector, the people. Steve, how are you?
I'm great. I live on the right side of town this morning, so I was able to get here a little bit easier. But yes, traffic is a mess in the HRM this morning.
Yep. Based on Sherry's description, it sounds to me like you guys have the East Coast, less pretentious LA traffic situation going on. It's like
Yes.
Pretty
pretty
much.
much stuck in it.
I left my house at 8:15. Usually a 15-minute drive exactly to the store. I've currently been in the car for 1 hour, and it is telling me I have 49 minutes to go.
That's nuts.
Almost nearly, you may as well get out of the car and walk home. You're almost nearly there.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Lovely. So, as I said earlier, we're going to talk through a couple of things. We do have a couple of products that are going to be coming into the store, so I'll go over them very briefly. None of them specifically warrant any full breakdown. However, if there are questions or anything related to it, you can reach out to the store. I'll put the little scrolling ticker at the bottom, but I also do recommend you can check in the description. If you want to check out anything that's going on, all the links and everything will be in the description as well. But then you've got amgcollectibles.ca, and the Instagram is also scrolling across the bottom. Links in the description to all of the above. If you've got a more pressing question, you can use any of those contact points, and that'll be a way to go to get a hold of people and get a more direct answer to your questions. One other thing we'll touch on real quick from the last episode. We thank those of you that left a comment. We did have a little merch discussion in the last episode, so a few people did respond to that. So we got Robin Taylor that said everyone could use a great t-shirt. So there you go. There's at least a little bit of encouragement for that. And then Craig Michaud said, "Sign me up for one." So there's at least some interest, Steve, in having some shirts and some merch. So I think we'll have to see. You guys will have to talk into it and see what you can do. At least Sherry's got time to think of merch ideas. She can be designing. She can literally pull out the tablet and start drawing, and she's got the perfect right from the road. Fantastic.
Yeah.
After that podcast, Alex McLean from East Coast Lifestyles just happened to walk into the store. So we did have a little chit chat, and he's definitely interested in doing something. So when we get enough time, especially Sherry, since she'll be our fashion coordinator, we'll definitely, come up with something simple to start, whether it's, ball caps or something like that, just to get the brand and the name out there. And anytime you can, cross brand with a great company like East Coast Lifestyle, and AMG, heck, we're right there too, I like to think.
Yeah.
And
Love us.
yeah, maybe a picture of Blair on the hat, but definitely look forward to doing something with Alex. Super guy.
I can see it now. This will be on the runways of Milan. It's going to be very exciting. I cannot possibly imagine. It's going to be glorious. It's fantastic. So I want to thank them for including the comment. As always, if you've got any comments or questions, anything that you'd like to do, you can feel free to put it in the comments section. You can check that out. And also the audio version will be available wherever you get your podcasts. So you can check that out as well. So covered that. I also want to encourage everybody to hit the like button because we're just under 290. I want to get to 300. We're getting closer, but we need a little push to get us over the top. So we'll see if we can do that. Now, quickly, I'll go over a couple of these products that are coming in. If there's anything particular, Steve or Sherry or Blair, that you want to note, feel free to, but I'll quickly go over them. I'll just go straight from the top. 2024 Panini Donruss Optic Basketball. Pretty self-explanatory if you're familiar with Optic brand. You generally speaking, you're looking for color. A lot of the different inserts, whatever the current crop of rookies are, I won't pretend to know, even though we did decide the NBA champion. The Boston Celtics have won their 18th NBA championship. That happened last night. So that worked out for them. No joy in Lucaville, alas, for the Dallas Mavericks folks. nonetheless, it is. So 2024 Optic Basketball, you can check out and follow that. Second one that I was having a little bit of fun with before we went live, or recording in this case, 2023 Panini Immaculate WWE. So I'll just say this. It is a very nice product. It is a very high-end product, so you can pull definitely some big-time cards in it. And they do have some big-time autographs and some memorabilia pieces you can get out of it. It is a pretty fancy product. If you're familiar with Immaculate, though, design-wise, it's very similar to what you're used to. But you can definitely check that out. So there'll be a couple of those coming in the store that you can follow. Again, check the store directly and contact for quantities, information that you need. That's the most direct way to do it. And then Steve's personal pick, his personal favorite, who he will vouch for it. 24 Topps Bundesliga Chrome Soccer. It's not only Bundesliga, it's Bundesliga Chrome.
That's the kicker.
At least it's shiny.
You can get your shiny refractory Chrome Bundesliga. Like,
Say that again, Carlos. Just one more time.
Bundesliga. If nothing else, you can just say it. It's really fun to say. And I don't care if I'm mispronouncing it. It doesn't matter. It's really fun to say. So you can just say it as many times as you want. Listen, you buy a box, you can say it however you want.
I think I'm going to do that when people even come in for hockey. Hi, I'm looking for Sinjin. Did you say Bundesliga?
Yes, absolutely. Listen, I secretly, I think all the people coming in want some Bundesliga. And again, if you buy the box, you can pronounce it however you wish.
True.
Add syllables. It makes no difference. It's fine. Whatever. Buy a box. Steve, I think you'll agree to this. If somebody buys a box from you, they can pronounce it however they want.
Absolutely. It's a nice looking product. Just
it is.
We were discussing earlier. Just some of the star power has lost that league. Although, Alphonso Davies is still there, and lots of great German players. So it's still a good product, and it's got to be priced to sell. So the price will be fantastic, actually.
If you're a hardcore soccer fan, in that case, in that situation, if you're a hardcore soccer fan, there you go. Then it's at least an opportunity to get yourself some cards if you can enjoy that. So you've got those, and then we've got 2024 Upper Deck Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So if you're familiar with that movie series and the product, and of course the Black Panther comic series and everything, so you can definitely check that out as well. So play off of it. And the rest of what I've got on the list is a lot of different, team bags, card sleeves, and things. So you can go to the store to get all your card supply needs. So that's covered. Frankly, I was very excited. I was going to do a breakdown, and Sherry had to calm me down. I wanted to talk about 4x6 top loaders. I was getting very excited. I was very enthused. I really wanted to Sherry, but I could do like a half-hour breakdown of 4x6 top loaders. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be awesome. And we may as well take
a little low on those.
Listen, you got to take advantage. You need those top loaders if you got 4x6s. The important thing though is a quick aside. Since, like I said, store-wise in terms of a lot of things, one quick thing we'll mention is that the trade night will be happening this month. The card shows are off for the summer for the next couple of months, but the trade night will still be happening, and I believe it's the last Friday of the month. Still scheduled for that.
Yeah.
Although this month's
Friday
card show is still on, correct?
Yeah, last one.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. This will be the last card show. So we'll have the trade night Friday, June 28th. And then the card show June 29th. Now we are closed at 7 p.m. now going forward for the summer on Fridays, with the exception to the trade night. People are still around. We will stay open until the 8 p.m. as usual for the trade night.
Perfect. So I think those are key, and we'll give you the reminders in the next couple of episodes as we get closer to it, but that's just to give something to keep in mind, because after that, it'll be, like I said, the card show will go on a hiatus for a couple months until it comes back around in the schedule. And again, we'll keep you updated on that. And part of the reason I had a little fun, I was poking a little fun at the top loader thing is a little quick aside. It's something that I mentioned that became a little bit on the news, is that Ultra Pro apparently is suing BCW for trademark infringement because they have tried to trademark the penny sleeve and the top loader. We wish them the best of luck. I don't know. Steve is not a lawyer, but he stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But penny sleeve and top loader are very common words that are used very frequently in our hobby. And I don't think any one brand specifically owns the top loader. But, we'll leave that to the legal professionals to work out. I am enjoying that, though. I did appreciate that they literally top loader and penny sleeve, even though the penny sleeve for the most part is not really a penny anymore. So it's a bit of a misnomer. Penny and a half sleeve? Depends on where you buy it, I guess.
True.
Kind of interesting. So a couple of things to bear in mind, and we'll see how that stuff ends up going. Sometimes hobby news is a little bit fun, especially if it's really silly and petty. I kind of enjoy it from that perspective. So we've got that going for us. Okay. So here, Steve, I'm going to let you choose our adventure. We've got our baseball memorabilia, and we've also got the cards. Which one did you want to touch on first?
Let's touch on the baseball. Kind of neat.
So
it was very.
What I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do here, yes, because I want to get the story behind it. So I'll show it, and then we can you can break this down for me a little bit here. Okay, so for the people watching the visual, we'll try to describe it as for the people in audio, but also for the people in visual, I do recommend if you can check out the YouTube channel, it's probably the best way for you to get the best experience. So first, what I'm looking at right here, I'm looking at an image there with, of course, the Pokemon, mat on the underneath, to add the visage. So we've got 6 baseball gloves that are fully signed, and then we've got a series of baseballs here. So we've got 10 baseballs and 6 gloves. A lot of signatures going on. So what do we have here, Steve?
So I was sitting in my office and I looked out, and Blair was surrounded by baseballs and bats and gloves
And adoring fans.
and adoring fans.
I don't know.
And he looked a little perplexed, as was I. So then when I came out, Blair and I just, started talking to the gentleman. And the story is, I believe this guy was in the military. So he's traveled around with this stuff for over 25 years. The story is his aunt or great aunt was a babysitter for the Montreal Expos for many years. And back in the day, on top of, I'm assuming, paying her, hopefully, they also would give her, memorabilia. So the gloves you're looking at are team signed gloves from 1994 to 99. So 6 years worth of gloves. Of course, the 94 team, I believe, the consensus for most people, they may have won the World Series that year if there hadn't have been a lockout. But again, you never know when you have a storefront what's going to walk in. So when this stuff walked through the door in Bedford, Nova Scotia, a unbelievable Montreal Expos collection, our jaw dropped, and Brad was even in the office at the time, so he started sticking his nose in there too.
He got excited.
I told him to stay in his lane and go back in the PSA office. But Blair and I were able to have a nice conversation with the guy, and he just decided, he's been carried around for 25 plus years, moving it all over the country. He just felt it was time to let it go, and our goal now is to get it in the right hands of people that will appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it seems fair. So a couple quick questions here. So first one, actually, first a comment, then a question. First comment is, I do appreciate that there's a little bit, even though not 100%, there is a little bit of consistency in terms of the glove that he ended up using. It's not exact model, but there is very similar model because it has the model that you can actually have the spot to put the finger through. So it's interesting that they stuck to a consistent type of glove for all the different autograph versions of it. So it's kind of interesting. All Rawlings. Go ahead.
I think a couple of them are Randy Johnson gloves. And for some reason, I think it was Steve Avery. Although I don't think he was ever with the Expos. Maybe someone just liked his glove. And I'm not sure. I'd have to double check that. But I know there was Randy Johnson ones.
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to that one, what made it a little bit tricky is that, and it's just we're going back to the years when I played baseball, is that all the model gloves were whoever Rawlings had signed who had player models. Right. I remember that for a while in Little League, I had a Tim Wallach model. So it was more a matter of like who you could get, but it was just different style gloves depending on who the the signed player was that they happened to have for it. It wasn't always the superstar necessarily. Tim Wallach wasn't exactly like the household name, but he was a player and he was assigned to them, so you were able to get it. But Randy Johnson obviously was a player once he was with the Expos, but he really came into his own when he went to Seattle, and then obviously was able to fashion a Hall of Fame career. So one other note that I'll make, so that was the first thing. One other quick comment is that I do like the fact that it was 6 consecutive years of the gloves, so that's kind of cool. And then that means you're probably going to have a couple of years of Pedro on a couple of these gloves. So that's a pretty good, there's going to be some good names, Larry Walker as well for the 94 team. So that's a pretty good combination of someone. And I think Vladdy Sr. For at least maybe the tail end there a little bit as well. I can't remember what year he started, but you're probably going to get some Vlad Sr. as well included as part of that.
And a couple of the balls too. I believe one of them was Pedro Martinez. I don't think it was game used or not, but signed, mentioning in his no-hitter game that's signed. Another one is, and I'd never even heard of the guy, he was apparently the first pitcher to throw with his opposite arm. So, he was a righty, and I guess one game he decided to pitch as a lefty. So he mentions that on the ball as he signs it. Maybe that's how he made his claim to fame. But anyway, there's some neat balls and a couple of guys I'm not even all that familiar with, which helps validate the story too. If you just had all superstars on there, might question it a little bit.
Sure.
And just another note on the gloves before we move on. As you can see, like some people might be able to pick up, but for the people that aren't actually watching, the autograph, like you can tell it's a team. Like this was done by the team, because the way the autographs, like they're so perfectly. There's 2 or 3 on the finger or 4 on each. Like they're just laid out. This wasn't a one, get this guy, get that guy. So it just helps lead into the story that, the whole thing was not that we had any doubt, but it just, you look for things like that. But they're so perfectly, like this was given to the team and they signed, you could really tell how nice the signatures are on the glove. I guess the positioning, but yeah.
I think it's fair. Now, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was going to lead me to the one question I wanted to have an open-ended question about it for you, because when it comes to stuff like this is always a little bit tricky to authenticate. And especially when you're talking about like a big memorabilia item, especially when you're talking about a full team set, it's different from looking at one individual item or 2 individual items. You've got a whole set of them. To your point, the story, the provenance, is there a reason for you to have been at a place and time that you could have gotten this? Does it make sense for you to have been able to angle it? Is the fact that you've got autographs from some of the lesser names as well? So because obviously you could go for the 94 team, Larry Walker and Pedro would be very obvious names that you would, if you just got Larry Walker and Pedro and nobody else, it's like, coincidentally, the players that you would want more than anybody else, the 2 Hall of Famers that happen to be on that 94 team. So it'd be kind of a little bit interesting as far as that's concerned. And I double checked, and Vlad Sr. started in 96. So more than likely he'd be probably in a couple of the later ones as part of the team. So again, Hall of Famer. So in that vein, you'd be looking at those Hall of Fame autos would be like the main ones you'd fixate on, but you'd be also looking at some of those other names and go, okay, so if you're getting some of some of the players a little further down, maybe on the bench or somewhere like that, it does add a little bit more credence to the idea that it was signed by the team as opposed to a specific place where only a handful of people sign. And also you've got various wear on some of these gloves. They look like they've been around for a while, and it doesn't look like everything's been signed at the same time, because some of the autographs are more worn than others and some of them are a little cleaner than others. So there's a little bit of a mixed bag as far as that's concerned, but a very interesting collection there of items.
A couple of autos I noticed, because some of them, I'm not a baseball auto expert, but there was a couple there. I think I saw Felipe Alou and Moises Alou. So I think they were on the same glove, but I'd have to double check that. But to me, it looked like that. I'd have to double check and see if Felipe was with the team in either a coach or
he was the manager. Felipe Alou was the manager.
That's what I thought. Sorry, I didn't want to misspeak. And then I think his Moises was there at the same time. So anyway, interesting.
Yeah, he was coaching. He coached his son for several years there in Montreal.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of one of the interesting quirks, because there were a lot of Alous in baseball there for a period of time with Felipe and his brothers, and then his son, of course, took over, and they happened to be in a situation where dad was coaching, and then the son was playing. So definitely that's a good call out. Second picture here is a series of bats, same kind of thing from the same collection, I assume.
Yeah, and there's some broken bats. You can tell they've all been used. Even one like that Cooper bat straight ahead, it says Will Cordero 1994 All-Star Game. So, just little tidbits like that are added to the, to the whole overall collection helps validate it. But yeah, there's a Tim Wallach. Some of them have the lady's name, so I guess we won't say her name, but when it's personalized like that, it also helps validate it. But yeah, it was impressive and overwhelming. And honestly, we haven't even done much research on it yet. We've just been so busy. We kind of bought the stuff, and we'll get to it hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Our goal is obviously, we'd like to keep it together. So we'll probably display it in the store for a while. But at the end of the day, we're not a museum, so we will enjoy it, let our customers see it and enjoy it, and then decide, the best way to move this. Or if, there's a collector out there that wants to take a stab at grabbing all of it, by all means, reach out to the store.
I think that's fair. And so in the same vein, then let me just quickly ask this, and then I'll show the last image, which also comes from the bats. And you can kind of see it if you're looking at the image here and watching. You can kind of see it out of the corner of your eye if you're paying attention there in the middle. And I will zoom in on the next picture. Will zoom in on one of the bats specifically related to it. Not a Montreal Expo, but it is kind of an interesting addition to this collection. So to your point, Steve, is as far as like for the gloves and everything, you can kind of look at the different autographs. You can look at the teams themselves, make sure that it matches up to the various teams so that that jives with the whole story. And like I said, provenance in the story is always very helpful. But when it comes to looking at bats and things like this, what kind of research do you think you guys are going to end up doing as far as trying to place these bats, place in time?
Well, I mean, again, just like the gloves, I mean, the story matches up. We know they're good. There might be one or two, like, has it been game used or not? Sometimes that's hard to prove. I know the next bat there, I did a little bit of research because, of course, that was the most exciting item to me. And it's definitely like, this player's pattern. There's little things on the bat that I've seen on, ones that are being sold. Now, is it game used or not? There is some wear on it. So, I mean, who knows? He might have used it for batting practice or something. But, you see some of his bats. Obviously, we're talking about Tony Gwynn, which, is my favorite hitter of all time. So, yeah, a little bit more research has to be done probably on this bat. More so, the other ones just collectively are neat and, could range in price from, $50 to $300 or $400. But this bat, could be of significant value. So at some point, we'll kind of have to, someone that obviously knows more than we do, check it out. But, confident the auto's real. I mean, right below it's his facsimile autograph. It looks pretty good. And then just researching the bat, there's a couple telltale signs on it. It's definitely his bat. So that's kind of where the story ends for us. And we would need to, take it to an expert or someone that knows more than us, definitely to, take it to the next level. I think it's, there is some little, you could tell a baseball was hit with it at some point. Did Tony hit it? I don't know. I hope so. But either way, it's still a great item.
All right, just make sure we don't have some security footage of Blair going out there trying to swing the lumber a little bit, trying to hit some dingers outside in the parking lot. That might not help the overall story, Or maybe it would, again, the adoring fans. So you never know.
I think I actually swung one of the other ones just to get a feel for it because they're the old wooden bats. But yeah, no, back to authenticity, like or being game used or not game used, it'll be really tough to tell. But like Steve said, some of those original bats are broken and cracked. So whether it's game used, whether it's batting practice, I don't know if you'll ever be able to determine that. But unless there was some, how guys score goals and add the date to the puck kind of thing, and I didn't see anything like that on them. So game used, batting practice, they're still kind of really cool. And this one, like Steve said, will need some further investigation.
I think that's fair. And I, for one, am kind of a little bit offended that Steve is suggesting that the Tim Wallach bat is not like, that you don't need hours of study to make sure that this is truly a Tim Wallach. Like, as I said, the man had a glove model, Steve.
I had Tim Wallach too, Carlos. I had a Tim Wallach pattern, so I'm there with you. And we do have a Tim Wallach bat, so.
There you go. Steve, that's the reason why I brought it up. It's like we got a Tim Wallach bat to go with the Tim Wallach pattern. Steve, come on. Anyway, no, that's good stuff, and I appreciate you including that collection in there. And we did mention that we were going to talk about it at some point, so I'm glad we were able to have that conversation on it today. Perfect. All right. So
update
with that, go ahead.
I've passed Sobeys.
Oh my God!
All right.
Good news.
This is this.
Might be a good segue to let Cherry tell the story about the Pokemon card that's featured
Oh, that's
there.
Steve. You read my mind. That's basically where I'm going right now. So, Steve, you're picking up on this. The cues are coming. I like it.
I'll be hosting soon.
There you go. Oh, I would love that. Steve, I will let you host anytime you want. I will sit in as a panelist. I'm in for this. Cherry, I'm in for this. I'm very excited by this.
Oh,
right.
definitely.
So here we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lean in here. So Sherry, since I thank you for your traffic update, that's very important. We appreciate that.
No problem.
So let's quickly touch on another area in addition to traffic that you're expert in. So here we got a Pokemon Gold Star Rayquaza Hollow in a PSA 7. All right. What do I need to know about Rayquaza? On a scale of 1 to Cheese Stringamon, where do we rank the Rayquaza?
Much higher than Cheese Stringamon.
Oh,
much
hurting
higher.
my. This hurts me even more than Tim Wallach's slight. This is terrible. This is tragic.
Yeah, Rayquaza, he's a very popular character. Anytime we get any Rayquaza cards in the store, they do not last very long. But this actually was a PSA customer who's also an AMG customer. He had the item graded by PSA Canada. And afterwards, he wasn't looking to hold on to it. Didn't have much value to him, not what he collects. So we had a couple of discussions about what he might want to do with it. I know a few people out in Ontario who are big Pokemon collectors. And like Steve said earlier, we hadn't even gotten this out yet. And the word was out that we had this from a customer. So we ended up purchasing it and moving it to the customer in Ontario. Not something I'd keep in my collection. Super cool, rare item, but as most people know, I collect Mew, Mewtwo, and sealed booster boxes. My first edition set. So not something I was looking to add to my collection, but really neat to see come in the store and be able to move it and get it sold for the customer.
Right. Now, being a 2005 Pokemon EX DOXYS, mouthful if ever there was one. So is it a particularly tough issue in year? Because like I said, I don't know too much about it, but is it a tougher set because it's an 05 or anything in particular?
Yeah, and a lot of those items, a lot of the items from basically anything 2016, 17 and back, you're going to see with a lot more wear and tear, more of near mint, lightly played conditions, especially these ones, but they're definitely a little more rare to come in. Any of the Gold Star items always have a little bit of a higher value as well. By a little bit, I mean, can be a lot. So it's a really nice piece.
Yeah, I'm using the PSA app. So by the way, pro tip here, if you're ever curious, because like I said, I'm putting it on the screen. So I literally went and scanned this, screenshot that we're looking at right now, just so that I could see. And just looking at the app here, again, it shows the 7 and everything, since you can see the barcode. It shows a population of 123 at this in a PSA 7 with 466 population higher, but it also shows some sales history and some very impressive auction results for this.
Card.
Yeah. So pretty impressive. Pretty
There
impressive.
was, I know there was a copy of a 10 or something sold for upwards of like 40,000 or something. It's in my little research, because I was doing a little bit in case we talked about it last week. But yeah, it's just it some places had it fallen into like the top 25 Pokemon cards to collect. And there's a few other big cards from that set as well too. That sell quite strong. So it's just a great set. And people thought I thought these were very playable cards back in the day. So I was reading a little bit, and some people were saying, well, that's why you don't get the high grades on these guys, because they were played quite a bit. But then I read another article where guys said it was that people still put them away. So it's don't know why.
I think both can be true. The analogy that I'll use. So part of the reason that I was asking, and I was trying to get a little insight from what Sherry was telling me, is as soon as I see 2005, and this is a tip for everybody. I don't know anything about Pokemon really. I was around though when Pokemon was coming into the stores, and I remember in '99 them getting the booster boxes, the first booster boxes, and the kids came by and opened all the packs and everything. I just looked over. Even at that time, I knew that they were going after the Charizard. Like even at that point, they were all excited about the possibility of pulling that card. And as soon as they started pulling that card, it was popular. So, but it was never my scene. I was, I had already aged out of that. But my younger brother watched the cartoon, so I was familiar with it. I knew what they were talking about at least. But 99, this is 2005. This is still relatively early days. If you're inside the first, 5, 6, 7 years, it's still relatively. So that's so even without knowing anything else, I would think the print run would have been lower, especially compared to the last several years, because they printed billions of cards in the last couple of years and all kinds of series and everything. But in 05, it hadn't quite taken off to that level. So you're going to have lower print runs, which in turn keeps a little bit lower. And they were still very much game pieces. But yes, there were kids who threw them into their binders very carefully and took care of condition and everything. So it's just, in the card games like this, Magic the Gathering had the same thing. The first early years of the series, the print runs were much lower than they would be later on. But there were a lot of players who did play with them. So a lot of them got damaged and scuffed up because they were using game. And then later on, but other people kept them. So that's why some of the nicer looking cards from the early series do still exist. But at the same time, there's a lot of them that look like they've been played with. So you're getting a mixed bag in conditions. Same kind of idea.
A little side note on this too. The card was actually on last week's podcast. We had put it on there because Sherry was going to talk about it, but she couldn't make the podcast, but it still showed up on our pictures. So the buyer of the card, who knows Sherry, actually contacted Sherry without us discussing the card and, what's the deal with this? So it's nice to know that, featuring cards on the podcast is beneficial because, Sherry was able to get in contact with this guy and negotiate a deal. He was happy. The seller of the card was extremely happy. It wasn't something we were going to take on because it was an expensive card, and we didn't want to have to sit on it for too long. So we got this gentleman, market value for the card, and in a very quick time. So within a couple hours of the podcast airing, yet not discussing the card, a deal was made for this card. So like I said, it's good for us to know that I guess what we do, does matter. Little things, that benefit the business, we want to keep doing and expand upon. So it was neat to see,
definitely.
Not even discussed.
Well said,
and
Steve.
we told it. I try.
See, you keep this up, and your hosting gig is forthcoming. It's going to be very exciting. The one other thing I'll mention though, in the same vein, since Steve mentioned it, is that if we like to showcase these cards for so that you get a chance to see them, and then we talk about them. But if you ever do have a question about any of them, use any of those contact points we talked about earlier. The worst people can say is, "Oh no, unfortunately it's sold," or the person who is showing it just wanted to show it, but they're not selling it, and that's the worst case scenario. That's the worst that we can say. Otherwise, maybe it is possible to make a deal. Who knows?
Yeah. Or some people, obviously, I know nothing about Pokemon. You can advise us and give us information on an item too. Like, we're learning just like everyone else, especially as new product comes out. So feel free to give your 2 cents worth, and hopefully we can learn something too.
There you go.
Definitely.
All right. So next one I've got on here is a 2020 Panini Select Joe Burrow. And this is a die cut red prism in a PSA 10. Very impressive because in the die cut, it is tricky to get a 10. The edges do get dinged up quite a bit, and it is very common to have surface scratches, especially in the back with the solid borders. So getting it in a 10 is actually a pretty nice outcome on that one.
He's going to stay healthy this year.
Yeah.
He better.
I'm trying to remember if the red. Now, one thing I was going to check, actually, I wonder if the red, because I know on some of the parallels are a little bit. The problem is Panini does a lot of different parallels. And as part of having that many parallels is that some of them are retail exclusive, some of them are hobby. It just depends. So this one in the 10 has a population of 201. That's not too bad. And again, in the PSA 10, pretty solid in terms of having that in pretty good condition. Next one here, we've got a Synergy. So thematically appropriate since we had Synergy. So this is Jonathan Quick Signatures, written with an SYG. Very clever Synergy. So you've got that on there. And this is a die cut as well. and it is the 1 of 1. So I don't remember what the parallel is for that, but this particular one is the 1 of 1 version. So we've got die cut 1 of 1, Jonathan Quick. 2018 Select, speaking of Select as well, Michael Porter Jr., the Zebra Prism. If you like your animal prints, Select does have a number of those. This one's also in a PSA 10. Thematically appropriate since, as I said, we just had the NBA Championship finish up last night. Sticking with the NBA theme, 2020 Panini Select Anthony Edwards, Rookie Selection Blue, also in a PSA 10 there. And this one's got a little bit of a shimmer thing going on with it as well. It's got a little pattern to go along with the blue. Pretty nice looking card. Let's stick with the basketball. Well, it looks like we're basketball heavy this time, Steve, with all the images for the most part. One football, one hockey, and all the rest is basketball. All right. We're going to finish with a nice basketball one, too.
I can't remember if it's out of 25 or 35, but the holder had some scratches on it. So we did send it in to be reslabbed. So that will be available, probably in a month or so when it gets back. But of course, he's a Canadian and great player, too. So that'll be a nice card once it comes back from being reslabbed.
Nice. And that's a 2016 Panini Donruss Optic. We already mentioned 2024 Optic earlier in this one. Jamal Murray, rookie signatures pink in a PSA 10. And that's the card in question. Last one here looks like a Blair card. Very fancy. We got a Precious Metal Gems Metal Universe Champions of Michael Jordan. And it is Metal Universe Champions, so you do have Michael Jordan with the airbrush jersey going on.
Right.
It looks like either a college or basketball. I'm guessing college, I think, given the image and everything. But you've got it is an interesting image, but it is a green PMG, which is pretty big, and that should be number 10, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably Indiana, I guess.
Indiana.
Well, if it's college, if it's college, I can't remember what college he played for, but
North
it's
Carolina.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's the Tar Heels, right? It's the Tar Heels, right?
Yeah.
You can make it up.
Where did
I was about to say, but you kind of did with the airbrush one. Blair just decided it's Indiana now.
Must be Indiana.
Close enough.
That's my favorite. My favorite show is India, or one of my favorite movies is the Hoosiers.
Oh,
So,
yes.
yeah.
Don't get caught watching the paint dry.
Yeah.
There you go. So anyway, so it is an excellent card. Obviously PMG green, obviously Michael Jordan. Regardless, logos or not, licensed or not in this case, Jordan PMG. Like that, there's not much that needs to be said beyond that. And it's obviously a pretty big card.
Yeah, that's a good customer of ours. That's actually the newest Skybox Metal Universe, which surprisingly hasn't been selling that fast. So we do have quite a bit on the shelf. So seeing this card pull should entice you to come give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone's got one listed online for $23,000. I think that's a little ambitious, but the owner of this card decided to set it in for grading, and it is a big card. I don't know how big, but once it's slabbed, I think it might be a 9. There's a little touch there along the side, but even a PSA 8 or better on a PMG, especially Michael Jordan, it's going to be a valuable card. So hopefully I can negotiate with this gentleman to allow us to sell it too, because anytime we can get a big card like this and make some money for the owner and a little publicity for the store, we'll take it. But definitely a big card out of an affordable box.
Very nice, very nice. Now, one other note I'll make, since we're bringing it up here as we wind this one down, I will mention that in the event, some of these cards obviously end up in the store. Some of them are moved through various means. We talked about a few during the course of this show and everything. But one of the things I also will bear in note here, and the link is in the description as well. Sometimes some of these items, depends on what it is, but in some cases, some of the items end up in the eBay store. So that may be something that we'll direct some of you to go to take a look at and everything else. You can check out the eBay link. It is in the description as well. So sometimes there are some neat cards that wind up in the auctions in the eBay store. So something worthwhile to check in from time to time just to see what's new. And since it's eBay, you can actually follow a seller. So especially if new stuff comes up and it's of interest to you, you can check it out there. And if you have questions, you obviously have the contact points and you can ask if you have any questions with anything while the auction's on and get your answers. That way you're more comfortable with whatever it is you're bidding on. Just some things to bear in mind. So
this would be a good example of a card, if we're permitted to try to move it for the customer. It would probably go in our eBay store, because that way we can control the selling price of the card and hopefully, you know, get the customer what they want for it.
Absolutely. I did enjoy as well that since we talked about the North Carolina thing, you know, I don't know if you noticed that the U.S. Open was this past weekend, and they had a Pinehurst #2 in North Carolina. So you see, Blair, you should have gone with that connection. You know, connected to the North Carolina thing. And Bryson DeChambeau was the U.S. Open champion, so we had that going on there. One of the few live golfers to win a major, and you know he's got cards too, especially from 2021 and beyond. Now he's no Chris DeMarco, a few people are, but nonetheless, congratulations to Bryson DeChambeau on winning the United States Open. I actually watched the tail end of that. It was actually pretty good finish on that U.S. Open, and I like Pinehurst, so it was kind of fun to watch that. But just the North Carolina connection just made that brought that to the front of mind. Anyway, anything else that we're missing, Sherry, Steve, or Blair, before we call this an episode?
Yeah, we've I mentioned a few weeks ago, we've been starting to get a limited supply of like some Panini products in. We had some Don Ross Clearly football, and it sold right away. And Sherry and I were chatting with the distributor, and we were able to get some more, and it's actually more than what we originally received. I think it won't come until next week, so next Wednesday or Thursday it will be here. So those that missed out on picking some of that up, next week we will have some. The price will be the same. And then also, too, we got a small restock of Recon basketball, which, again, sold out immediately. So when we get products like that, don't hesitate to come in, because we have people coming in over the weekend and a couple yesterday. It's just such limited supply. It's not going to last. And, you know, if we get limited supply, the other, you know, shops around town, they're kind of in the same bout as us. So don't hesitate on any product that you want, especially like basketball, football. It comes and goes very quickly.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good. Good note to finish definitely on.
And just one more thing, like I said, we have the auction running Sunday to Sunday. There will be 50 new items every week. And then we also have the Sidney Crosby print by Rob Scott that you can purchase in store, framed. It's an absolutely beautiful item. You can go back and watch the interview and podcast we did with Rob a few weeks back. But yeah, so you can grab those in store, and we hope you like to come get them.
Sounds good. Sherry, are you in the parking lot? Have you made it?
He's here.
Perfect.
I'm in the parking lot. I can't see over there, but the last 3 minutes of my drive, it was smooth sailing through 2 intersections. So 9:55, I'm running at about just under 2 hours. Not bad.
And you got the last 40 minutes or so on the podcast. So that was perfectly done. Just as we're winding down, Sherry is in the parking lot ready to head out.
45 minutes on the podcast.
Perfect.
Yeah. Great.
We did it, everybody.
Glad I could join.
All right. So I'm going to let you go, Sherry. You can take off and get yourself ready to go. And I'm going to let the gentleman open the store. So we're going to wind her down here. I want to thank everybody for checking this one out. Again, comments, feel free to hit comments or questions, throw it in there. And so we thank Sherry for joining us on the road, on the route to the store. And then these gentlemen are going to open it up. Again, questions, comments, or anything else, throw them in there. Use the contact points. Look in the description for all the links for all the things you're going to need. So that's episode 35. That's it for us. Thanks very much. We'll catch you in the next one.